One split second, one mechanical failure. That's all it took to turn routine training into the 5 most terrifying gymnastic deaths ever recorded. These aren't just tragic accidents from a dangerous sport. They're reminders that in gymnastics, the smallest mistake can become the ultimate price. It was March 15, 2019, when 16-year-old Brooke Callahan stepped onto the vault runway at the Regional Championship Arena in Columbus, Ohio. The junior from Westerville High School had spent 4 years dedicated to earning a gymnastics scholarship to Ohio State University. Her parents, both working 2 jobs to afford training costs, had sacrificed everything for this moment. Brooke was known for her relentless work ethic and explosive vault power. Standing 5'2" with a compact, muscular frame, she possessed the rare combination of speed and precision that made coaches take notice. She was first to arrive at practice and last to leave, often staying after hours to perfect skills others had mastered. The arena buzzed with nervous energy as over 200 gymnasts prepared for the regional qualifier. Brooke's teammate Jessica had fallen during warm-ups on the same vault table, shaking their team's confidence. But Brooke appeared unfazed, methodically chalking her hands and visualizing her routine with focused determination. The vault runway had been recently resurfaced, and several gymnasts mentioned the texture felt different from their home gyms. The springboard, in use for 3 seasons, showed wear around the edges. During equipment inspection, officials noted the worn grip tape, but deemed it acceptable for competition use. As Brooke raised her hand to signal the judges, the arena fell silent. She had performed this vault hundreds of times, a double twisting Yurchenko requiring perfect timing and spatial awareness. Her approach run began with characteristic power, feet pounding against the runway as she built momentum for her explosive takeoff. At 82 feet down the runway, Brooke hit her mark and launched toward the springboard. But as her left foot made contact, the worn grip tape failed to provide adequate traction. Her foot slipped just 2 inches to the right. But in gymnastics, 2 inches might as well be 2 feet. The slight deviation altered her body position by 15 degrees, throwing off the spatial orientation developed through years of repetition. Her hands struck the vault table at an incorrect angle, launching her body into the air with dangerous forward rotation. Instead of the controlled double twist she had planned, Brooke's body completed only 1.5 rotations. She was flying blind, her back toward the landing mat, and her head leading the descent toward the unforgiving surface below. The impact was devastating. Brooke's neck compressed at a severe angle as her full body weight, plus momentum from her 8-foot fall, drove her cervical vertebrae together with crushing force. The C4 and C5 vertebrae fractured instantly, the distinctive crack audible to nearby coaches. Her spinal cord severed completely at the point of impact, cutting off all neural pathways below the injury site. Her body went limp immediately, legs whipping over her head as remaining momentum carried her into an unnatural position on the mat. The silence that followed was deafening. 200 athletes and their families watched in horror as Brooke lay motionless, her body positioned in a way that made it clear something catastrophic had occurred. Emergency medical personnel reached her within 90 seconds, but the damage was irreversible. Despite aggressive resuscitation efforts during the 12-minute ambulance ride to Columbus General Hospital, Brooke was pronounced dead 47 minutes after impact due to complete spinal cord transection and subsequent respiratory failure. The competition was immediately suspended. Investigation revealed that the springboard's grip tape had deteriorated beyond safe usage levels, becoming dangerously slippery under the arena's humid conditions. Her coach never returned to competitive gymnastics, unable to continue in a sport that had taken the life of a student she considered her own daughter. It was August 7, 2021, when 17-year-old Caleb Ryder entered the elite training center in Denver, Colorado for what would be his final workout. The high school senior from Boulder had been training for the U.S. Junior National Championships, where a strong performance could secure his spot on the national team and open doors to a full scholarship at Stanford University. Caleb stood 5'8" with the lean, powerful build typical of elite male gymnasts. His specialty was high bar, where his fearless approach to release moves had earned him a reputation as one of the most exciting young gymnasts in the country. Coaches often described him as having ice water in his veins, the kind of athlete who thrived under pressure and never backed down from a challenge. But beneath his confident exterior, Caleb was struggling. He had been dealing with persistent wrist pain for 2 months, the result of overuse and inadequate recovery time. The injury was manageable with anti-inflammatory medication, but he had hidden it from coaches and parents, terrified that disclosure would end his national team dreams. The training facility was unusually crowded that evening, with 15 gymnasts preparing for nationals. Equipment time was limited, creating pressure to maximize every minute of training. Earlier that day, Caleb had argued with his father about his future. His parents wanted him to focus on academics, while Caleb dreamed of competing internationally. His coach, former Olympian David Kim, had been pushing Caleb to upgrade his routine difficulty to match international standards. Just 6 weeks earlier, they had added a new release skill, a double-twisting double layout requiring perfect timing and exceptional air awareness. The skill was at the absolute limit of Caleb's abilities, but necessary to compete with the world's best gymnasts. As Caleb began his routine on the high bar, everything felt normal. His signature combination of release moves flowed smoothly, each element building momentum for the next. The bar felt solid in his grip, and his body moved with fluid precision that had taken years to develop. He approached his new release skill with confidence, building the rotational momentum necessary for the complex maneuver. But as he reached the crucial moment of release, his injured wrist betrayed him. The chronic inflammation had weakened his grip strength just enough to matter. His right hand failed completely while his left maintained contact for a split second longer. The uneven release sent Caleb's body spinning chaotically through the air. Instead of the controlled double-twisting double layout he had practiced hundreds of times, his body rotated unpredictably, with his head dropping toward the floor at an accelerated rate. He had no time to adjust, no opportunity to protect himself from what was coming. Caleb's dismount went catastrophically wrong, sending him headfirst toward the landing area. Despite the thick foam pit designed to cushion falls, the angle and force of his impact drove his head into the edge of the pit's frame. The metal border, meant to contain the foam blocks, caught him at the worst possible angle. The impact caused severe head trauma and multiple skull fractures. Witnesses described hearing a sickening thud followed by an eerie silence as Caleb lay motionless among the scattered foam blocks. His body convulsed briefly as his nervous system fired its final signals, then went completely still. Blood began pooling around his head within seconds as fractures in his skull allowed brain matter and cerebrospinal fluid to leak onto the gym floor. The bright red spreading across the blue mat created a scene that would be burned into the memories of everyone present. Paramedics arrived within 8 minutes, but Caleb's injuries were too severe for any life-saving intervention. He was declared dead at the scene, his dreams of national team glory ending in an instant of mechanical failure and tragic timing. The gym closed for 3 days while investigators examined every piece of equipment. Coach David Kim retired from coaching immediately afterward, stating that he could never again ask an athlete to attempt such dangerous skills. The incident led to new USA Gymnastics requirements for thicker landing mats and mandatory injury reporting protocols. Caleb's parents sued the facility for inadequate safety equipment, resulting in a settlement that funded improved safety standards across multiple training centers nationwide. It was May 22, 2020, when 15-year-old Sierra Monroe stepped onto the floor exercise mat at the state championship meet in Phoenix, Arizona. The sophomore from Scottsdale had been training for this moment her entire life, and everything depended on the next 90 seconds. She needed a score of 9.4 or higher to qualify for regional championships. Sierra was known for her artistic expression and powerful tumbling passes. At 5'4" with exceptional flexibility and natural rhythm, she brought a unique style to floor exercise that consistently impressed judges. Her personality was equally captivating. She was the teammate who could lighten the mood with a joke during stressful competitions, but who also possessed the mental toughness to perform under extreme pressure. Her coach, former college gymnast Amanda Walsh, had choreographed Sierra's routine around a spectacular final tumbling pass, featuring a double-twisting double back somersault. The skill was at the upper limit of Sierra's abilities, but she had been landing it consistently in practice for 3 months. The competition was being held in an older arena where the floor exercise mat had been in use for over 8 years. While it had passed basic safety inspections, the mat showed clear signs of wear, slight depressions where countless gymnasts had landed, and areas where the springs beneath had lost some of their responsiveness. Sierra had been battling a mild ankle sprain for 2 weeks, the result of an awkward landing during practice. She had convinced her coach she was ready to compete by demonstrating full range of motion and managing the discomfort with extra tape and anti-inflammatory medication. As Sierra began her floor routine, everything felt perfect. Her opening tumbling pass landed solidly. Her dance elements flowed with characteristic grace, and her second tumbling pass earned enthusiastic applause from the crowd. She was performing at her absolute best when it mattered most, building confidence and momentum as she approached the routine's climactic moment. The final diagonal tumbling pass began flawlessly. Sierra launched into her signature skill with perfect form, her body rotating with the precise timing she had developed through countless repetitions. The first somersault completed exactly as planned, and she began the second rotation with textbook body position and spatial awareness. But during the second flip, the worn floor mat compressed unevenly under her landing area. The springs beneath this section had lost their elasticity, creating a dead spot that would prove fatal. Sierra's feet hit the mat at an awkward angle, the uneven landing causing her to lose control of her rotation. Unable to correct her position mid-air, she came down hard with her head and neck taking the brunt of the impact. The force of the landing, combined with her body weight and momentum, created a compression injury to her cervical spine. The impact fractured her C2 vertebra and caused severe damage to her spinal cord at that level, resulting in immediate paralysis and loss of consciousness. Witnesses described seeing Sierra's body go completely limp mid-landing, with no attempt to break her fall or protect herself, clear evidence of immediate loss of all motor function. The arena fell silent as Sierra lay motionless on the mat, her body positioned in a way that made the severity of her injury immediately apparent to experienced coaches and officials. Her parents, watching from the stands, knew instantly that something catastrophic had occurred. Sierra died instantly from the spinal cord injury, though paramedics attempted resuscitation for 25 minutes before declaring her deceased. The state championship was immediately canceled, with all remaining competitors and their families receiving crisis counseling services. Investigation revealed that the floor mat had lost significant shock absorption capability due to age and heavy use, contributing to the fatal impact. New state regulations were implemented requiring floor mats to be replaced every 5 years and undergo annual compression testing. Sierra's family established a scholarship fund for young gymnasts while advocating for improved equipment, safety standards nationwide. It was January 14, 2022, when 18-year-old Derek Vaughn prepared for his final beam routine at the Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs, Colorado. The high school senior from Denver had been training at the elite level for 6 years, and this session was being filmed for a documentary about Olympic hopefuls. Derek was an anomaly in men's gymnastics, one of the few male gymnasts who competed on balance beam as part of his training regimen. Standing 5'10" with exceptional body control and spatial awareness, he had developed innovative dismount combinations that pushed the boundaries of what was considered possible on the 4-inch wide apparatus. His personality was quiet and analytical, approaching gymnastics like a chess match. His coach, Olympic medalist Jennifer Stone, had been working with Derek for 5 years to develop a signature dismount that would bear his name if successfully performed in international competition. The skill was a back handspring into a double twisting double back somersault, a combination that required perfect timing, exceptional height, and flawless spatial orientation. For several weeks, Derek had been experiencing dizzy spells due to an inner ear infection. The symptoms were mild and intermittent, but he had not reported them to medical staff for fear of being removed from training. With Olympic trials just months away, he couldn't afford any setbacks that might jeopardize his chances of making the team. The beam in the Olympic Training Center was set at competition height of 4 feet above the floor, with standard landing mats that met all international safety requirements. The apparatus had been inspected that morning and showed no signs of wear or instability. As Derek began his dismount sequence, the documentary cameras captured every detail. His back handspring was flawless, generating the momentum necessary for the complex aerial maneuver that would follow. He launched himself high above the beam with perfect form and rotation, his body spinning with the precision that had taken years to develop. But mid-flight during his second somersault, the inner ear infection that he had been hiding suddenly manifested as a severe bout of vertigo. His spatial orientation disappeared completely. He could no longer distinguish up from down, could not locate the ground, and had no reference point for controlling his rotation. Unable to orient himself in space, Derek's body continued spinning beyond the planned 2 somersaults, adding an uncontrolled third rotation that sent him crashing toward the landing mat in an inverted position. The 8-foot fall, combined with his body weight and rotational momentum, created a devastating impact scenario. He crashed into the landing mat with his neck bearing the full force of the impact. The collision drove his head into his chest, crushing his C1 vertebra and causing immediate brainstem compression that stopped all vital functions instantly. His body bounced once upon impact before settling in an unnatural position, with his legs twisted beneath his torso and his arms splayed at impossible angles. The documentary cameras captured the entire sequence, including the moment Derek's body went completely limp, and the horrified reactions of coaches and teammates who witnessed the accident. The footage would never be released publicly, but it would be used in safety training programs to educate coaches about the importance of medical disclosure. Derek was pronounced dead within minutes of the accident, his injuries so severe that no medical intervention could have saved his life. The Olympic Training Center suspended all beam training for 48 hours while conducting a comprehensive safety review of all equipment and protocols. Coach Jennifer Stone took a leave of absence and eventually left elite coaching entirely, unable to continue after losing an athlete she considered like a son. The tragedy led to new requirements for mandatory medical reporting and regular vestibular system testing for all elite gymnasts. It was June 3, 2023, when 19-year-old Lena Prescott stepped up to the uneven bars at the National Championships in St. Louis, Missouri. The college sophomore from UCLA had been training her entire life for this moment, her first senior national championships, where a strong performance could secure her spot on the World Championship team. Lena stood 5'6" with powerful shoulders and a lean frame that made her ideally suited for uneven bars. Her specialty was strength elements combined with complex release moves, and she had developed a routine with the highest difficulty score in the competition. Her personality was methodical and precise. She visualized every element of her routine dozens of times before competing. Her coach, veteran instructor Robert Chen, had spent 3 years helping Lena develop this routine. The championship venue was packed with over 5,000 spectators, college recruiters, and national team selectors, creating an atmosphere of intense pressure and unlimited opportunity. For 3 months, Lena had been managing shoulder impingement syndrome through extensive physical therapy. The team physician had cleared her to compete after she demonstrated full range of motion and adequate strength in testing. During warm-ups earlier that day, Lena had noticed that the high bar felt slightly loose when she performed her handstand elements. She mentioned it to an equipment official who performed a thorough inspection and determined that all connections met safety specifications. The uneven bars apparatus had been in use for 2 seasons and had passed all required safety inspections. However, microscopic stress fractures had been developing in the metal connections, invisible flaws that would only become apparent under the extreme forces generated by elite-level gymnastic skills. As Lena began her routine, everything felt perfect. Her opening sequence of strength elements flowed smoothly, each handstand held for the required 2 seconds with rock-solid stability. The crowd responded enthusiastically to her powerful style, and she was building momentum toward her signature skill, a handstand with a half-turn into a support position. She pressed into the handstand with characteristic control, her body forming a perfect vertical line above the high bar. But as she reached full extension, the previously loose connection gave way completely. The microscopic stress fractures that had been developing for months finally reached critical failure, causing the high bar to shift suddenly under her weight. Her right hand slipped from its intended position as the bar moved, destroying the precise grip placement that was essential for the skill. With her support compromised, Lena began falling sideways between the uneven bars, her body twisting as she desperately tried to regain control of her descent. Her left arm became trapped between the bars as her body continued falling, creating a lever effect that subjected her humerus bone to forces far beyond its structural limits. The bone snapped with an audible crack that was heard throughout the arena, the sharp sound cutting through the ambient noise like a gunshot. The broken bone punctured her brachial artery immediately, causing massive internal bleeding as her body weight continued to pull her downward through the bars. Bright red arterial blood began spurting in rhythmic pulses, covering the equipment and floor as her cardiovascular system went into shock from the sudden blood loss. As her body fell through the bars, her head struck the metal base of the apparatus with tremendous force. The impact fractured her skull in multiple places and caused severe traumatic brain injury that would have been fatal even without the massive blood loss. Lena's body went into traumatic shock immediately, her systems shutting down as blood pressure dropped to critical levels. The combination of blood loss and head trauma created a medical emergency that was beyond the capabilities of even the most advanced trauma care. Emergency medical personnel were on the scene within seconds, but the injuries were too severe and had progressed too rapidly for any intervention to be effective. Lena died from the combination of massive blood loss and traumatic brain injury, despite the immediate attention of on-site medical staff who had been specifically positioned for such emergencies. The national championships were suspended for the remainder of the day, with grief counselors made available to all competitors and spectators who had witnessed the accident. The image of Lena's routine, which had begun with such promise and ended in such tragedy, would remain with everyone present for the rest of their lives. Investigation revealed that the uneven bars had developed the microscopic stress fractures that caused the catastrophic failure, leading to new requirements for equipment X-ray inspections at all major competitions. Coach Robert Chen continued coaching, but implemented new safety protocols requiring multiple equipment checks before each training session. Lena's death prompted USA Gymnastics to mandate that all major competitions have trauma surgeons on site rather than just EMTs and paramedics, ensuring that future medical emergencies would receive the highest level of immediate care. Her legacy became one of improved safety standards that would protect countless future gymnasts from similar tragedies. If these stories left you speechless, wait until you see what's coming next. Click the video on your screen for even more shocking tales that will keep you on the edge of your seat.